Welcome to the Advisor Group's Avoiding Scams, Protect Your Wealth in 2025 workshop. Let's first start with some introductions. My name is Mark Cox. I'm a Client Services Associate as one of the tag team members. Also joining me are Brent Beverly, the President of the Advisor Group, and Manny Chinche, a Senior Advisor at the Advisor Group. Both of them are certified financial planner practitioners and wealth advisors at our Diamond Bar branch. In addition, we have William Glenn, another Client Services Associate with the Advisor Group, who will also be speaking. At our firm, we partner with clients and believe an educated client is our best client. While we always try our best to help you, when it comes to your finances, we believe that knowledge is power. So one of our missions is to share with clients any knowledge that can better help them make an informed decision. That being said, let me assure you that we are not experts in this area. What you're going to learn today is ever evolving and will change constantly. And it is a bit scary. Months ago, when we envisioned this presentation, we thought of a handful of threats and scams that would be out there. And the more we dug into it, honestly, the sheer volume of scams out there is simply overwhelming. So, let's take a look at what we plan to cover in this presentation. The threat to you, your family, and your friends and businesses. What used to be an annoyance is now becoming a threat and soon likely to become a danger. We will look at some of the scams we are seeing now. We believe it will help your understanding to delve a little bit into who is doing this and why. Then we will look at what actions do you need to take to help protect yourself and your family. Then lastly, we will wrap up with some of the actions that you or your family can take when the scammers catch you. Hopefully not, though. So, let's get started. To get us going, let me bring in Mr. Chinche.
Thank you, Mark. The first problem clearly shown here on your screen is the overwhelming number of ongoing data breaches and hacks. Take a look there. 2.9 billion records, including social security numbers, were compromised. 190 million healthcare records were stolen. Giants like AT&T, Verizon, and Lumen were hacked. And we're seeing several examples of people in North Korea linked to scams. Now, we'll talk more later about North Korea, noted here as a Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Now, part of the problem when we prepare this presentation is that more and more scams keep popping up. It's really difficult to figure out what to include and what to skip because we want to be as comprehensive as possible. Criminals are getting more and more creative, and the levels of sophistication of these scams and hacks just keeps increasing. Now, the term scams seems less threatening. We will use that term as that is the most common term, but keep in mind that when you hear the word scam, what you're really hearing is theft. These scammers are essentially stealing money. So let's break down some of the more popular scams that we're seeing. Now, one of the oldest and most original scams is the advance fee scam. This is where the scammer promises a large sum of money or benefit in exchange for a small upfront payment. Now, you may have received an email from a nation such as Nigeria years ago where if you paid a small fee to an escrow company or bank, they would send you millions of dollars to hold for them so that they could get the funds out of the country. Or maybe someone said you could inherit large sums of money from a deceased relative if you paid the estate a fee. Now, the advanced fee scam has expanded. Now we see what are called e-commerce scams. There are lots of them, so let's just focus on a few here. For example, you pay to purchase event tickets from a scalper, but the tickets never arrive. Maybe you get on a fake website that offers great deals on items that you're interested in purchasing, or you're alerted that of a lottery or auction that you happen to win. Send your money and we'll ship the goods, they tell you. Now, another scam is called the brushing scam, where you receive a package with a real tangible item. When you try to follow up on a delivery that you never ordered, the scammers look to draw out your personal information. The real trap occurs when they ask you to scan a QR code to get what they call a lifetime guarantee. Instead, it provides them with access to your phone. They may bring up a fake Amazon or a bank website where they hope you'll attempt to log in and provide them with your login information. Romance scams are becoming more and more common. Scammers may come up with stories such as being a military person overseas or being on an oil rig and needing help from a patriotic American such as yourself, or perhaps claiming to be a single lady in need of help getting America to find love. They may claim they need money for a plane ticket or to take care of family in the States because there's been a delay in their pay. The stories and the needs are endless, very creative. Now, we hear of these types of situations quite often, so be sure to meet the person in person before you even consider providing them with any money. There's an old saying, she's not your honey, she only wants your money. True for both men and women. And let me throw in a caution here. Even if you were to meet in person, it wouldn't necessarily prevent you from getting scammed. The Associated Press noted that a woman in Las Vegas was arrested for meeting with men from a dating site, then drugging them and stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she also happened to murder 3 out of the 4 men the authorities were able to track. Cryptocurrency scams. This is another one we see regularly, and in these instances, big dollars are stolen. A common approach scammers use is saying that they're an investment expert and cryptocurrency is a really easy way to make lots of money. And they even claim to have a foolproof method. On paper, they show they can make great returns, but in reality, it's all on paper. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And finally, we learned a new term while researching this topic, sextortion. Now, what is that? According to the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, traditional sextortion occurs when a victim is threatened or blackmailed into providing more explicit imagery of a sexual nature. The predator threatens to share the explicit images with the public. The extortion occurs when the predator demands money or gift cards in exchange for not spreading those images. In a recent analysis by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, financial sextortion is on the rise. Currently, as many as 79% of predators seek money rather than additional explicit imagery. So when you hear that term, you might think this is oriented towards young women, but the truth is that the primary target is typically young men. An even bigger problem, and increasing more and more, is cybercrime. So what is cybercrime? Hacking and data theft. Your information is stolen. Ransomware. Hackers get a hold of your computer or files and they won't release them back to you unless you pay up. Identity theft. Via your personal information, someone could get a loan in your name. Money laundering. Illegal activities are conducted and money is hidden that may be traced back to you. Malware. Malicious software is installed on your computer so that scammers can access its contents. And we'll talk more about AI voices in a bit. Check out these monthly statistics of what is being hacked. These are monthly figures from 2024. Remember, these are just the ones that authorities are aware of. Nearly 1 billion emails were exposed or breached. There you see nearly 50 million social security numbers were compromised and nearly 1 million credit card numbers were stolen. Pretty scary stuff. Now, this list here on your screen helps us understand the top targets of cyber fraud in the past year, which Brent will discuss at length a little later. Okay. On the left, you see there, pig butchering. What is that? Brent will explain it. Account takeovers or new account fraud, synthetic identity fraud, deep fake business email compromise, and government impersonation. Now note on the right side, when we look at the top industries affected by this fraud, financial services ranks number 3. So now you understand why we are so concerned. Now to cover more on this, allow me to bring up Mr. Beverly. Brent?
Well, thank you, Manny. Let's first look at what the top fraud is, what they're calling pig butchering. This is not our term, but this term started in China, where the pig is a sign of prosperity. And since I'm the Chinese speaker of the group, I'd like to be the one to explain this. So let's do a quick review of the process. You see this very often with romance scams, but the process can involve a lot of hooks out there to get your money. In the West, we would probably want to use a fishing metaphor. Think of this as baiting the hook, getting a fish on the line, and then catching and frying the fish. But the first thing the scammers do is they prepare the system. Now this means setting up ways of trapping the victim's money. Now, this may involve escrows, banks, websites, any details that will help convince the victims and provide a way to get money from them. Then, pick out the victim. Often the choice way to do this is via social networking. It's amazing what they can learn from your social websites, such as Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the myriad of sites and information sources that are out there. They may also purchase the victim's information from hacked breaches, such as what we just discussed. Then they begin the process of creating trust with the victim. Now, we've already talked about romance scams and cryptocurrency scams. Currently, these are the real pig butchering scams, but there are many more out there and a lot more coming. The scammer will typically exchange emails and texts, and when needed, they'll exchange phone calls. They'll tell stories about their family and concerns, none of which is likely to really true, but which will get you involved in their life, creating that trust with them. And this makes the victim needy. Needy is the word I'm saying there. This is the love of your life. This is the easiest way to make money they've ever seen. In cryptocurrency scams, the initial reports online show the money is being made hand over fist with no downturns. It's amazing what it can do. So then they start with the small money, maybe even give some back. In cryptocurrency scams, this becomes, see how easy and safe it is? What money can you add to make real money out of this? Can you borrow some money? Can you get the family to contribute? It's so easy. If it's a romance scam, it could be something like, I just need American money to pay the embassy for a visa, or things like, I'm buying a property in another state. Can you lend me money? Just send it to the escrow, and they'll prepare the note and the deed of trust to protect you. Oh, it all looks so good. And then they take it all. So we hear things like, we had to close that crypto exchange and move to another firm. I'll send you the new account information. Or to get your money out, you need to pay an additional fee for them to release your funds. If it's a romance scam, it may be, I'm buying a house, can you help me? Or I need to pay my child's tuition at a U.S. university. Can you help me get the funds into the bank account for the university? And as we mentioned before, we saw one where they used a well-known bank but misspelled the name on the website. It had a bank logos, it had their phone numbers, it had everything, but the funds never went to the real bank. Back in the 1930s, they asked bank robber Willie Sutton why he robbed banks. His answer was very simple, because that's where the money is. In our time, the real big money is available online or digitally. So if we've noticed already, there can be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars quickly, relatively easily, and a heck of a lot more safely for the perpetrators than dealing drugs, doing robberies, or other crimes. As noted here in the first paragraph, more than 57,000 Americans are scammed, according to Gallup. That's 21 million Americans per year, about the population of Florida. FTC estimates the annual losses total $158 billion. That's big numbers, guys. According to the FBI, Americans lost upwards of $43 billion in 2024 in reported digital crime. Now, around the world, how much of that got taken and how much more went unreported? The Economist magazine reports that 1 out of every 100 people are scammed every year. Now, I was surprised at that ratio. 1 out of every 100? But let's take the figures on this page. If 21 million Americans are scammed in a year, out of our population of approximately 350 million people, you do the math, that works out to 1 out of every 17 people is being scammed every year. If we have people attending our webinars of, say, 40 of it, that means we have 3 or 4 people every webinar who have been scammed or are actively being scammed as we speak. I hope you're not one of them. These are truly scary figures. Now, victims report an average loss, I'm reading paragraph 2 here, of $14,000 to the FBI, with seniors losing over almost $34,000. Some lose their entire life savings, their house, and even their lives through suicide. Amazing. Now, we just talked about sextortation. Now we're seeing some of these financial scams happening with our clients. This increasing problem is what prompted us to give this presentation. We're going to talk a minute about where these stolen funds go, but let's look here to start. To fuel even more criminal activity and strengthen our enemies, British government research have shown links between fraud, slavery, human trafficking, and drugs. U.S. Treasury Department says Mexico-based cartels are scamming Americans and using the proceeds to finance other criminal activities, including illegal drugs and so on. And the last one here, about half of North Korea's missile program has been funded by cyber attacks and cryptocurrency theft, according to a White House official. Now, we're going to talk more about this, but as we go through here, this is big money. At the end of February of this year, according to the Associated Press, the FBI accused North Korea hackers of stealing $1.5 billion of Ethereum, one of the most popular cryptocurrencies from Bybit. That was the name of the company they stole it from. All right, the world's second largest crypto exchange. It's based in Dubai, operating out of Singapore. According to the Wall Street Journal, since 2016, North Korea has stolen more than $6 billion in cryptocurrency. Big money, guys. Big money. Now, when I started checking into this, we falsely believed that the scammers were just odd individuals or small teams of crooks who prey on individuals. The reality, unfortunately, is far more terrifying. The threat to you is business. It is a business. It is multiple businesses. These are international businesses that have marketing departments, those who troll the internet to find victims. They have what we call employees, the bad folks who actually do the scamming. Now, most of these operations are sizable, so they'll have a human resources department as well, what we'll call the middle level management, to run the operations. They're often taking over entire office complexes or several floors of a hotel from which to run their operations. Now, often the scammers themselves live on site or nearby, so they have some kind of housing for them. They provide security for the offices and housing to make sure the scammers don't get bothered, and other things that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Of course, they need connections to the world, so they have their own IT and computer departments. They need banking connections to get the money out to their country, out of this country, and quickly spread to where the victims can't get it back. A lot of their attention is directed, as we noted, to cryptocurrencies as a very easy way to get funds moved quickly. Now, if you're thinking of these as small operations, think again. Think of these operations as entrepreneurs chasing the big bucks. Now, you've seen the money. And we talked about this being a business. With all the money that comes in from these operations, the businesses are serious operations. Drug lords and crime syndicates are just beginning to get into this business. Now, often of what we're calling employees in our previous slide are actually forced into the position as scammers. Sometimes it starts out with being easy money for the person with whom you're interacting, but more often they're actually forced into this position. Now, we've seen examples of Filipinos being kidnapped and forced to work in Thailand or Myanmar because of their language skills, say in English. Much of the operations originated in targeting Chinese in China, and they're still there. So last year, I remember reading a newspaper about a famous Chinese actor who was kidnapped while on a trip to Bangkok and forced to work into this kind of operation. And it took months before he was rescued. The scammer employees are held to a work level. If they don't perform, they may get beaten or even tortured. If they try to escape or resist, some are killed. Just a couple of months ago, police rescued over 200 people tied up in one of these operations in Cambodia. Now, notice the word that was used. They were not caught, they were rescued from the compound. Even when they're rescued, though, many of these scammers are so ashamed of what they're doing. They feel they can't go back to their former friends or families, and oftentimes they commit suicide. Now, other operators in the business are paid to do the work, typically more than they could make in doing more legitimate work. The IT folks, the enforcers, the guards for the people that are moving the funds around, what we call the money mules. all of these are paid for what they do. Now think of gang members here in the USA. They know that what they're doing is wrong, but they get payment and status for doing the evil that they do. In that raid in Cambodia I just talked about, in addition to the over 200 employees that were rescued, there were over 100 operators who got arrested. And that's just one site. What we called middle management are what the supervisors on site. They're watching over and enforcing the operations. Think of them as the gang leaders. The real bosses or kingpins are often nowhere near the actual operations. They're out of the country, they're off somewhere. So where do these operations usually take place? Given the ease of global communications, they could be anywhere. But these are the most common locations. Now, some major operations seem to have started in Hong Kong to target the rich folks in China. Well, now that mainland China has taken over Hong Kong, those operations have moved elsewhere. But we're seeing operations now coming out of mainland China. CrowdStrike, for example, recently noted, and I quote here, China's cyber espionage reached new levels of maturity. Chinese cyber attacks on American interests increased by 150% in 2024. And we're seeing an increasing spread to Southeast Asia countries such as Myanmar, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia. We also talked about North Korea a little while ago. We're seeing operations out of Russia and Eastern Europe, as well as Dubai and other Middle Eastern states. And more recently, police are seeing operations even out of the Isle of Man. Now, this is an island between Ireland and Great Britain. And it doesn't stop there, guys. There's so much more. Just basically anywhere you want to look. This chart is more oriented towards hacking a system, but it gives a good introduction to the world of scammers. Yes, you have the hacker, you have the targeted victim, you get a coder to write the hacking software, the victim takes action getting money from the victim's bank to the money mules, those who transfer the money to the fraudulent company, the leaders in the scam gets it out of there. Now, one of the key reasons why we added this in here was not only does it give you a picture of how big the operations really are, but because of this section right here, where we talk about money mules transferring stolen money for criminals, shaving a small percentage for themselves. Let's look at one example of how this can work and how it is working. So the money transfer system started in China. For many years, wealthy Chinese individuals were able to shift some of their wealth to the West. And I'm going to use the US here, primarily the United States. When Xi Jinping, the premier of China, came into power, he cut the flow off. So to get money from rich Chinese to the USA, it has to go through what I'm going to call unapproved, or said another way, illegal means. Now, who has excess money, particularly cash, in the U.S.? How about the already illegal operators such as Mexican and Latin American drug cartels? The money from the drugs, other illegal operations such as prostitution and now scams and cybercrimes. Now, I'm not picking on Mexico here, but the bulk of this trade currently runs through Mexico, which is why we're using their flag in this example. One way to get the money back to China as the Chinese currency, renminbi, RMB, or yuan, is to buy drugs such as fentanyl from China and pay for them in US dollars already in the USA. Simply do the accounting. So much US dollars already in the USA for so much RMB already in China. Easy. But wait, there's more. There's a better way. We can pay for legal trade from the US and China to Mexico and other Latin American countries. Again, without even shifting currencies across borders, we just do the accounting. Trade from Mexico to the US gets paid in US dollars. Mexico buys a lot of products from operations in China, so they need renminbi to pay the Chinese. From dollars in the US to renminbi in China without ever needing to actually move currency around. Now, you've probably seen the photographs of pallets of cash being held by cartels and drug dealers and so on. Getting this cash converted to funds outside the country was a real problem. With this new approach, according to former DEA agents, he used the term carrying charge. Okay, how much it takes to convert that. Just a few years ago, to convert these funds cost the cartels 7 to 10%. In the last couple of years, the cost has dropped from that 7% plus figure down to 1 to 2%. Do you have any doubt why the cartels and the mafia are big in this business? Unbelievable. So to continue our discussion, let me bring back Mr. Chinche. Manny?
Thank you, Brent. Now, these facts are, of course, very frightening, and we're just getting started. The tsunami of fraud and scams is only going to get better as technology expands. So how can you protect yourself and your family? Now, quick disclaimer here. Please keep in mind that not all of our ideas may be appropriate for your personal situation. We're certainly not professionals in this area. What we're providing is for informational purposes only, and we always recommend you address any strategy with a knowledgeable professional. And as we say regularly in financial planning, you need to be proactive rather than reactive. When it comes to avoiding scams and protecting yourself from thieves, your actions have to be proactive and should always focus on your personal circumstances. Now, these scammers have to communicate with you. And so you pay attention anytime you're communicating with anyone, whether it be via email, phone, text, online in some capacity, or any other way. If you're connected to the internet through Apple's Siri or Amazon's Alexa, could they potentially be monitoring what you do or say? Never click on a link in an email or text when you receive them, even if you believe them to be from a reliable source. Enter the web address yourself so that you know it is taking you to the right site. Now, one scam that we saw recently was to a well-known bank. Seemed safe enough, except that there was an extra vowel in the name which navigated to a very similar looking website controlled by hackers. The person would then enter their login information on this fake website, and guess what? They now have the credentials to enter on the real bank website, getting access to your account. Don't use the autofill feature on websites. That's where the entries are auto-populated. Sure, what you see is just entering your name, but you may not see hidden fields that autofill in other information attached to your name, such as credit card information or your social security number, etc. It's a bit of a pain to manually enter a user name and password, but take the extra time and type in your credentials each time. Now, as we alluded to earlier, never send money to someone you have not met face to face. Earlier, we talked about the advanced fee scam and romance scams. These scammers are very, very good at what they do. They almost make you want to send them money. Now, this ties in with other scams as well. Scammers will make promises such as it's in the mail and maybe even free delivery. So you send money but never get to see your purchase. Same thing applies for services. Your supposed new employer needs all of your information, such as your social security number, but this may also be a scam and not really have a job for you. We just saw this happen to a client who fortunately caught it before releasing their information. So if you absolutely need to send a stranger funds, send the funds via credit card where you at least have fraud protection in place. Now, one thing that we have not talked about yet is receiving calls regarding family members. A popular scam that has been around for years is receiving a call about a supposed kidnapping or about one of your kids getting arrested. The way this works is you're told that if you send money right away, your loved one will be released from custody or from the kidnapper. Our advice has been to contact your child directly, perhaps via their cell phone. In all the cases we've known, this has helped, and we have never heard of this being an actual situation. But even this advice is now outdated. There's a new variation now. You may ask to speak with your child on the call to prove they are in fact being held. The scammer says they're going to get them on the line, and on the call comes your child saying things like, "Please send the money, I need help." The truth is it may not really be your child. Now, the new artificial intelligence AI systems need only 15 seconds of voice recording to generate deep fake AI generated renditions of anybody's voice. Pulling a video off of Facebook or Instagram where someone is speaking gives the scammer enough speech to actually replicate one's voice, including your child's voice, to add to their scam. The new systems can even adjust videos to look like your children and have their lips match what they're saying. You can check out YouTube videos to see real-life examples of this being used. Photographs and videos can be hacked and changed into whatever the hacker wants them to be. A recommendation is to set up a secret code word that you share with your family and nobody else. So if you're ever in a situation, you can ask the victim to provide that agreed upon code word. If they can't, then you know it's fraud. Now here are some other techniques to use to protect yourself and your family. Username anonymity. If you can avoid it, don't include the first or last name and email addresses. This allows the bad guys to match stolen passwords to a username by conducting simple searches. Name-based usernames or reused usernames on various accounts can be traced back to the same person, allowing scammers to use the stolen passwords to access accounts. Perform an audit of your social media. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. Set them to private or only give access to friends to decrease your online exposure. All of the information you put online can be used by scammers to prove they know you and are familiar with your situation in some way. This is called social engineer or personalized phishing campaigns. And in general, practice online safety. Do not click on emails or text links. Go to the official website via your browser yourself. Now here are more techniques recommended by professionals in the field to use to protect yourself and your family. As mentioned earlier, don't use the same username across all of your online accounts. It becomes easier to get scammed across various platforms. Never reuse passwords. Even if encrypted, use a unique password for every one of your online services. Mix it up. Do not answer secret questions truthfully. If you're on Facebook, it's evident that your favorite superhero is Batman. A scammer is going to know the answer to that question if it's ever needed to get forgotten passwords. So pick a different superhero for the sake of these secret questions. We know that's a pain, but trying to fix the situation after being scammed is a lot more painful. And finally, if your situation is breached or compromised, consider getting a new email address and perhaps a new cell phone number if you're being attacked and hunted down by scammers. Now, we're not the only ones concerned about the prevalence of these scams. March 6th of this year was National Slam the Scam Day. Many government agencies are very concerned as well. Now here on your screen are just a short list of the agencies that are actively promoting being informed and protected against potential scams. These are the big boys: the Social Security Administration, the FBI, the IRS, and the Federal Trade Commission. Now for our next phase, let me turn this back over to Mr. Beverly. Brent?
Thank you, Manny. As you can tell, this is just so much bigger than most people realize. What has been an increasing wave of activity is poised to become a tsunami of scamming activity. For anyone who may not be familiar with the term tsunami, another term is tidal wave, a massive wave that overwhelms everything in its path. Now the question often comes up, why aren't we seeing more police crackdowns on these activities? Now there are many reasons. Police and regulators are simply overwhelmed and under-equipped to react to this. It's like trying to clean up after that tsunami hits with a mop. It may be a great mop, but it's just not adequate to the scale of what is needed. The laws that are there often do not apply, especially when the actual villains are out of the country. As we've noted, much of the actual activity happens outside the U.S. and outside other supportive developed countries. And oftentimes the laws are not enforced to the level that they might be here. As we noted previously, even the person you're interacting with may also be a victim. We hear one story with the quote, girlfriend, close quote, was rescued, but even then was so ashamed of what she had done, she wouldn't talk with the victim, a man in the U.S. who thought she truly loved him as he thought he truly loved her. It was just a total lie. So what happens if you do get caught in a scam? What should you do? Number one, immediately contact the police. There is a chance, however small, that they can rope in the perpetrator. Then immediately contact your banks and credit card companies so that they can limit further damage. Also, report this to the credit reporting agencies such as Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. We have links on our website to get you to the credit reporting companies. As soon as possible, reach out to any investment companies you work with, such as the advisory group. This allows us to put a watch on your account and help you know what to do. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, has procedures to identify scams and may be able to help you. You can find the links to the credit reporting agencies and the FTC on the Tag Financial website. There are other likely targets that scammers, once they have your information, may target. So reach out to these folks as well. Cell phone companies, utility companies, the auto club companies, membership clubs, Sam Clubs, Costco, etc. Another action you should take is to check your wallet and your files to see if there are other companies that you may have missed notifying in the first round. Who knows what the scammers were able to dig up on you via the internet? You need to get out there, and even these companies you're not currently active with, reach out to them and make sure they know that other people may be trying to reach out to them. Now, this is an especially good time to go ahead and change your online passwords and logins. Even now, be sure you don't use the same logins and passwords for multiple sites. They hack one, they can hack many. Start keeping a notebook where you log in the details of all that has happened and all that you're doing. Now, while you think now you'll never forget any of this, in a year or two, it's likely to all be a jumble in your brain. So get that logbook, keep it going. Get a professional company to monitor your credit and accounts. Some of the resources that we mentioned before, such as the membership companies or the automobile clubs, offer good resources to do these at discounted prices. Some of our clients have found LifeLock to be a good resource. Regardless of getting the professional company or having anyone else monitor your accounts, you are the first line of defense. You need to closely monitor your accounts as well. You know what should happen better than anyone else will, and so you may be able to detect foul play before they even see it. So, lots to do. To take us to the end, let me bring up our final speaker, Will Glenn. Will?
Thank you, Brent. We hope this presentation was informative for you and that you have a better appreciation for the threats that are out there. While this is an area that we are certainly not an expert in, one of our primary goals is to help clients make more informed financial decisions, which could lead to better outcomes. Thank you for taking the time to learn about what we believe is a significant and increasing threat to each of us. Please read through the disclosures. If you want to reach out to us, here is our contact information. We'll post this again in a couple minutes. We're thankful for the opportunity to assist you with your financial needs. Remember, at our firm, clients come first. Your health and well-being is always our highest priority. One of our major advantages as a financial advisory firm is the advisory group's team, what we like to refer to as our TAG team. We have included information for you to reach out to us. We're glad to be of service, and we will leave this slide up in case you need a copy of any of the information. Thank you again. This concludes our presentation. Have a wonderful evening and a great year. Happy, healthy, safe, secure, and prosperous.